Your body keeps going, but deep inside, your spirit feels stuck. You put on a smile, but inside, something feels off. You try to speak from the heart, but somehow it comes out differently. You've done so much already, yet a quiet voice keeps asking, is this really it? People admire your strength, but they don't see what it's costing you. There are 4 deep parts of you, waiting for you to come back to them. It's time to let the ego rest. Let your spirit breathe again. Let your soul wake up. Let your body soften. Being human isn't only about the physical side, and your mind isn't just thoughts or moods. Who you really are comes from 4 inner powers, each one plays a role. These are the 4 thrones: body, ego, spirit, and soul. Each throne shows up in your life in a different way. Together, they shape how you think, how you feel, what you believe, and where your life is heading. But a lot of people get confused. They think their ego is their spirit, or that their soul is just emotions in the body. When you finally start to see each one clearly, everything inside you begins to make sense. Let's start with the throne that's most grounded, your body. This is where your life lessons appear. It's also where the effects of your past choices play out. The body is tied to earth and pulled by gravity. It brings you into time and space, not as a punishment, but as part of the plan. It's a sacred agreement. Through your body, you feel the highs and lows, the hunger and the peace. These experiences help your soul grow and understand. But the body can't lead you on its own. The body runs on habits, instincts, and old routines. Without help from your soul and spirit, it stays stuck in loops. It reacts without thinking. That's why growth begins when you learn to watch your body's signals without letting them run your life. The body needs care, not control. You should respect what your body tells you. But don't mistake it for your full identity. The ego is one part people often get wrong. Some say it's bad and should be destroyed, but that's not true. Your ego isn't evil. It gives you a sense of being a you. It helps you feel like an individual person. Feeling like a separate person isn't fake, it's part of being human. It lets you see the world in your own way. Your ego began forming in childhood, from the way others treated you, from your emotions, and from what society told you was true. It shaped your ideas about who you are, what you deserve, and what's safe or risky. These ideas show up in how you live, what you do, what you choose, and what you believe spiritually. Think of your ego like a lens over your eyes. If it's cloudy, it's hard to see clearly. But if it's clear, that lens helps you make better sense of life. The ego mostly lives in the mind. It shows up through thoughts that compare, remember the past, use language, and shape your sense of identity. It creates that voice inside your head, the one that plans, worries, judges, and sorts things into boxes. But it's also there to protect you. It stops you from getting hurt, opening up too much, or taking on more than you can handle. The ego does have an important role. Problems come when it starts acting like it's the only voice that matters. When it disconnects from the soul and the spirit, it runs on fear and the need to stay in control. It holds on tightly to what feels familiar, avoids change, and pushes away anything that threatens its story. In this mode, the ego acts like a boss who refuses to listen. It can make you feel isolated, like you're not enough, or like you're better than everyone else. It creates a fake world built on comparison and competition. True growth doesn't try to destroy the ego. It helps it grow up. It teaches the ego to work with the higher parts of who you are. The ego isn't supposed to lead, it's meant to help translate. Once it knows that, it becomes a bridge between your human self and your divine spark, between the world that changes and the one that doesn't. Then the ego can guide your actions and personality without drowning out the deeper truth within you. The spirit, on the other hand, is the energy that pushes your life forward. Your body gives form, your ego gives structure, but your spirit gives you motion. It drives you to evolve, expand, and break through limits. Think of the spirit like divine breath inside you. It enters when you're born and leaves when your life ends. It's what lights you up when you feel purpose or excitement. While the soul may carry old memories and wisdom, the spirit is focused on what comes next. It doesn't care about the past. It's drawn to freedom, progress, and fresh possibilities. It connects you to something higher than your personal life story. That's why it often urges people to take risks, grow past their comfort zone, or release what no longer fits. The spirit speaks through instinct, excitement, sudden understanding, or bursts of inspiration. When you have a powerful idea, a deep pull towards something new, or feel alive with purpose, that's your spirit talking. Sometimes it comes through in symbols, images, or strong emotions that don't fully make sense right away. In ancient wisdom, the spirit was seen as a divine flame meant to awaken your heart. But without balance from the soul and ego, the spirit can lead to trouble. The spirit is like fire, and fire, if uncontrolled, can cause damage. If someone follows only their spirit without grounding, they can end up lost, reckless, or even destructive. The ego must help carry the spirit's fire without putting it out. The soul adds wisdom and timing. When all three work together, the spirit can lead you toward your true path. In terms of energy, this force is often felt in your solar plexus. When the spirit gets blocked, people often feel drained, unmotivated, or low. But when it's flowing freely, they feel alive, full of ideas, energy, and clarity. The goal isn't to try to control the spirit. It's to pay attention to it, trust what it shows you, and learn to use its power wisely. The soul is the deepest part of who you are, and it's not easy to describe. It's the part of you that was here before you were born and will continue after you leave this life. It's not made of thoughts, physical stuff, or even regular energy. It holds eternal memory, a record of everything your spirit has gone through in different lifetimes. The soul is where your growth is mapped out. It holds your one-of-a-kind blueprint, your sacred path, and the life plan you agreed to before coming here. The soul remembers it all, your past lives, your lessons, and the energies you came to share. It chooses your body, your family, your challenges, and your gifts with purpose. The soul doesn't speak through logic or quick thoughts. Instead, it comes through deep feelings, powerful dreams, and moments that just feel true without needing explanation. When you meet someone and feel like you've known them forever, or when a place feels strangely familiar, that's your soul remembering. The soul mostly lives in a higher part of your energy, beyond thoughts and emotions. It's deeply connected to divine truth. But it still has its own unique shape. Think of your soul like a single note in a divine song. It's one part of something bigger, but it still carries its own meaning. In ancient teachings, the soul was seen as a mirror that reflects both your human story and your divine self. A lot of people confuse the soul with strong emotions or old memories. But emotions often come from your body or ego. The soul doesn't react fast. It watches. It guides. It gives quiet signals. It doesn't shout or push. That's why its voice is often missed. You have to be still to hear it. Some people carry what's called the mark of the first incarnate. These aren't just old souls, they're the ones who came early to bring divine energy into the world. Others can sense something different about them. It might feel strong, calm, or even intense. These people often wake up spiritually at a young age. They feel sadness without knowing why, or they carry wisdom that seems beyond their years. Their path isn't easy, it's just more meaningful. They're here not only to grow, but to share something sacred with the world. But these four thrones, body, ego, spirit, and soul, don't always get along. Sometimes they clash. They compete. Each one wants your attention. They pull you in different directions. This doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. It means you're layered. You're rich in inner life. But if you don't learn to recognize these parts and understand what each one is asking for, life can feel stressful, confusing, and spiritually blocked. One of the biggest issues happens when the ego pretends to be the soul. Sometimes, the ego gets scared of losing control, so it starts pretending to be the soul. It says things like, "This is your life's purpose," but really, it just wants to hold on to comfort, praise, or a sense of importance. It uses spiritual phrases, not to help you grow, but to protect its own image. The ego's real goal is to keep itself strong. You can often tell this is happening when you feel certain about your spiritual path, yet feel tight, anxious, or stuck. The ego doesn't like anything that threatens its power. So it makes up reasons why you should stay in a harmful job, why you always need to be seen as kind, or why you should keep chasing attention. These thoughts sound wise or spiritual on the surface, but underneath, they feel heavy and pressured. The soul speaks with peace and space. The ego's voice feels rushed, tense, or proud. That's when people start looking spiritual on the outside but feel disconnected on the inside. They speak of healing and awareness, but avoid true honesty. They seem deep, but there's a hollow feeling behind it all. They chase spiritual highs but avoid silence. The soul never forces its way in. It waits. When the ego takes over, the soul steps back quietly. Only when the ego softens, through challenges, mistakes, or surrender, does the soul return with its steady voice. Another big struggle happens between the soul and the spirit. Both are sacred, but they move at different speeds. The spirit is quick, full of energy and drive. It wants to act now. The soul is slower, it takes time to reflect, heal, and follow a deeper plan. If the spirit moves ahead before the soul is ready, things feel rushed and confusing. You might feel like you have to do something right away, but you don't know why or what. This can make you start things and never finish. You may crave intense moments, but feel empty afterward. That's the spirit trying to go faster than the soul can handle. The spirit needs patience. The soul needs to be open to movement when the time is right. When they work together, your actions match your true path. You don't just move fast, you move with meaning. Life becomes a mix of deep inner wisdom and the drive to act. But one of the most hidden struggles inside is the fear the ego has toward the spirit. The ego wants safety, control, and the familiar. But the spirit is unpredictable. It follows a higher wisdom that doesn't always make sense to the mind. The ego knows that if the spirit fully wakes up, many of its stories and roles will fall apart. That includes false images, emotional ties, routines, and old expectations. The ego fears the spirit because the spirit doesn't wait for permission. It just moves. It brings change and transformation. That's why the ego often tries to quiet the spirit, by keeping your mind busy, numbing your body, or planting constant self-doubt. It quietly says things like, "You're not ready to speak up," or, "That's too risky." It uses fear and logic to keep the spirit small and worried about how others might react. But when the spirit finally pushes through, the ego either gives in, or fights back. This is usually when a real awakening starts to happen. Everything that once felt steady begins to fall apart. To the ego, it feels like a disaster. But to the soul, it's the start of real growth. During this time, the ego doesn't need to be crushed, it needs to be retaught. It has to understand that the spirit isn't here to destroy it, but to give it a new purpose. The ego's job shifts from guarding the old self to protecting the new one that's emerging. This change is fragile but powerful. It's one of the most important turning points on the inner path. The ego only becomes a problem when it refuses to adapt. Its role is to help you hold your sense of self, but when it becomes too rigid, it blocks growth. You can often spot this kind of ego in how someone reacts to things like feedback, silence, or uncertainty. If someone can't sit still, checks their phone again and again, talks over others, or fills every quiet moment with noise, it's usually not just boredom, it's fear of losing who they think they are. Silence reflects truth back, and the ego doesn't like that reflection. A balanced ego can rest in stillness. A controlling one feels uncomfortable and wants to escape it. Another sign is when someone always has to explain their feelings. If they turn every emotion into a story or a defense, it's likely their ego is trying to stay in control. The soul doesn't explain emotions. It simply feels them and lets them pass. One more clue is getting annoyed by mystery. If someone needs to name or define everything to feel safe, the ego is probably steering the ship. The soul feels at home in mystery. The ego struggles to survive in it. If you felt connected to this message, give the video a like and share what you felt in the comments below.